What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another one on the A-Team channel. So today we are continuing our focus on the AQA GCSE English Language Paper 2, and specifically we'll be exploring question 2 in a little bit more depth. But right before we get into that, guys, I know some of you have been making some requests, and as you can see, I am quite happily trying to fulfill them. So if you're not then do yourself a favor and get subscribed. You can thank us after the exams are over. Also, guys, do share this video around with those that you know can benefit from it, because with the type of year that we're all having, sharing really is caring at this moment in time. Okay guys, right before I get into the explanation of this question, I'm going to be using the November 2019 GCSE English Language Paper 2, which you can find the link down below so you can read both sources and go through the question with me on this. Now, as you should all be acquainted with by now, Paper 2 has two sources, one of which will be a modernish contemporary source and the other one will be an older source, usually from the 19th century. And this is of course done deliberately because the language and the context are different between the two periods. And for those of you looking to get top marks, these are things you should be looking out for when it comes to writing a response. Now, for this particular exam, the two sources are based around the central theme of these two elephants coming from the perspective of two individuals. So do have a quick read, as both sources are fairly straightforward and easy to understand. You can find the attachments down below. So let's now have a look at question 2. Question 2, you need to refer to source A and source B for this question. Both sources describe how the elephants behave. Use details from both sources to write a summary of what you understand about the similar behavior of the elephants. Key things to take away from this question is that it is asking for a summary, and very much similar to question 2 from the GCSE English Language Paper 1, which I've gone through, and you can find the link at the top somewhere here. So just like I mentioned in that video, you don't want to go completely on beast mode for this question just yet, since it is an 8-mark question and a fairly straightforward question, which requires you to just pluck out examples and make that comparison to show the similarities between these two elephants. Just a quick note on this, question 2 is usually a similar or a difference question. So you can ask for the comparison to be made on similar features or base it on the differences. And as an examiner, I've seen students just whiz into this question and make simple blunders, costing them in the process simply because they didn't pay enough attention to the wording. So don't be getting caught out in that. So as with all my previous advice, make sure to plan for this question. Yes, I know it's an easy 8-marker, but regardless, having even a short plan can still go a very long way and ensures that you can get all of your points across and don't end up going off on a tangent. So this is how I would go about trying to answer this question. First thing I would do is draw a table where I can make a direct side-by-side comparison of these two sources, and then I can have one column which I use to make my overarching point of the comparison. I will then go ahead and pluck out examples from the text and use these to link together of the similarities. So when it comes to writing, you can quite clearly see that in each paragraph I would make my overarching point, and then I would go on to give examples from source A and then make that direct comparison to source B. So one of the things I noticed from having read both sources is that both elephants were causing a little bit of commotion and being a nuisance, which is in the nature to do so. So in the first source, we saw that the elephant destroyed the bamboo hut, devoured stock, and raided fruit stalls, as well as also having killed a cow. Now from this, we can conclude that indeed the elephant here was getting a little bit out of hand and causing disruption to the surrounding community. We can then directly compare this to source B, where Dumbo the elephant was also similarly causing a stir, in the sense that he was destroying doors, driving his tusks into iron plates, splintering timber, etc. And both sources effectively are demonstrating that neither elephant can be easily tamed, and that once they are out of their respective environments due to the large size and power, they seem to wreak havoc, especially around us humans. Now, my second point focuses on something different but also similar between the two sources, and that is both narratives gave us this impression that violence was almost necessary to try and control these two elephants. For instance, in the first source, he took his rifle, which was much too small to kill an elephant, even though we can gather here that he didn't aim to kill the elephant. Towards the end of the extract, the tone shifts and he states that he didn't want to get steamrolled in front of the crowd, and there was only one alternative, which we can infer here that he was going to have to use force and violence. Similarly, in the second source, there's an even more wider variety of references to violence. They gave him a good thrashing, the occasional flogging, and even the reference to certain groups that would protest for the animal, which demonstrates that the context of the time where people were beginning to stand up for animal rights, which would of course be a lot more prominent in the first source. So these are things you can compare between the two sources. There are of course many other things you can mention, and it doesn't have to be what I just stated here, but this was just an idea for you if you were struggling with this question. For this type of question, I would spend around 10 minutes writing and roughly looking to aim around writing 2 decent sized paragraphs. Again, I don't want to go into too much depth because this is still a low mark question, and the point of this question is to summarize and to compare between the two sources. Well, I hope that you guys have found this one to be of some value. If it has, then make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And on that note, guys, my name is Amin, and I will catch up with you another time.